Extremely dangerous. Sagittarius is the spark for a destined war. I don't know what brought you to this recording. Maybe you clicked on it by accident while searching for something to ease the loneliness in your heart. Or maybe this is a divine appointment, arranged long before you ever understood the concept of destiny. But if you are a Sagittarius, or if you carry within you the energy of this zodiac sign, there is one thing I know for sure. You did not come here to live a quiet life. You did not come here to avoid the truth, or to please everyone around you. You came here to awaken, to ignite, to become the spark for something so vast, you haven't yet dared to name it. And sometimes, precisely because of that, you become a threat in the eyes of those who only want peace. But destiny never births people like you for the sake of peace. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to tell you a story, one you may have been living for a long time but never had the words to name. A story about a Sagittarius soul, dangerous not because they intend to be, but because they carry the fire of awakening. And that fire, when it touches the dark, always ignites battles no one saw coming. You don't need to believe in astrology to understand this. You just need to listen with your heart. Because if, in this voice, you feel something being stirred, then maybe, just maybe, you are the one the universe has chosen. To spark. To be brave. To begin. Don't let anyone make you feel ashamed for lighting a flame in a world that has fallen asleep. And if this feels true for you, say these words, whether silently in your heart, or whispered aloud. I am the spark of destiny. Because some words, once spoken, open doors that can never be closed again. These words are not just a statement. They are a key. A key that connects you to the field of energy that is unfolding around you right now. If what I'm saying touches something deep inside you, share this video. And let this energy spread to others who also need to awaken. Because when a Sagittarius ignites, they don't just change. The whole world begins to shine with them. And now, if you are ready, we will step into that journey together. A journey where sometimes, a single spark is enough to burn down an entire old era. I once had a conversation with a man in his 50s. He didn't speak much about the achievements he had collected. Nor did he dwell on the losses anyone could see etched into the lines around his eyes. He simply said something that left me silent for a long time. I'm a Sagittarius, and I've never felt like I had permission to stand still. In that moment, I understood something. Some people are not born to avoid the world. They are born to face it. Not to retreat into comfort, but to step into borders that no one else dares to cross. And Sagittarius is one of those people. Not everyone understands this. To those who crave stability, Sagittarius may feel like a disruption, a disturbance. A flame that suddenly appears in a calm midnight room. But to those lost in the fog of fatigue and pretense, Sagittarius is the first light, fierce but honest, that rekindles hope. You can still live true to your heart. Sagittarius is not the one who starts wars. But they are the one who cannot pretend. They cannot stay beside someone when their soul is rotting inside. They cannot remain in a job that no longer holds meaning. They cannot bow to something corrupt just to keep others comfortable. And because of that, they are misunderstood. They're seen as extreme, too blunt, too dangerous. But let me ask you, in a world so filled with half-truths, is there anything more dangerous than someone who dares to live in truth? I once saw a woman leave a 20-year marriage simply because she no longer felt anything sacred within it. She was a Sagittarius. She didn't leave because someone betrayed or hurt her. She left because each morning she woke up, she no longer felt like herself. And that feeling, that slow inner death, is worse than separation for a Sagittarius. People called her selfish. But I saw something else, courage. Because she refused to spend the rest of her life as a shadow of who she used to be. Maybe you're not a Sagittarius. But if you've ever looked in the mirror and seen a lost gaze staring back, if you've ever asked yourself, who am I in this life? Then maybe, just maybe, you're carrying a piece of the light that Sagittarius has planted inside you. And that light isn't always comforting. It doesn't feel like a warm candle by the window. It feels like a flame in the middle of the desert, capable of burning everything, but also of guiding those who have gone too long without believing in anything at all. In astrology, Sagittarius is the child of Jupiter, the planet of expansion, philosophy, truth, and faith. They don't just live for themselves. They live as if they carry a message, a truth that must be spoken. They may be naive. They may be clumsy in how they express it. But they are never fake. And that's what makes them dangerous. Because the world has grown so accustomed to the fake, that truth now feels out of place. In the years I've spent working with thousands of birth charts, I've noticed something extraordinary. When Sagittarius appears in the first house, the house of self, that person cannot live a half-life. When Sagittarius lights up the seventh house, the house of relationships, the other party is forced to change or leave their comfort zone. When Sagittarius is in the 10th house, the house of career, that career cannot survive without a great sense of purpose. Every time Jupiter, Sagittarius ruling planet, moves through key positions in a chart, I witness a spiral begin. Someone breaks up. Someone changes careers. Someone leaves home to travel for 3 months just to find themselves again. And when the dust settles, I always see something new in their eyes, life. Sometimes what you need is not another person to comfort you in your safe shell. Sometimes what you need is someone bold enough to pull you out of the swamp with eyes that burn. Sagittarius is that someone. But to walk with them, you must be willing to let go of what is holding you back, even if that thing is the old version of yourself. I once witnessed a man, a Sagittarius, turn down a promotion simply because he felt the system there was no longer right. People said he was foolish. But a year later, the company collapsed in scandal. And he, the one who dared to walk away while everyone else was still asleep, was the only one who owed nothing to falsehood. Do you see? The battles that Sagittarius sparks are not battles against others. They are battles within themselves, to live truthfully. And when they live in truth, they make others reflect. And when others begin to reflect, old orders begin to shake. That is the real danger that people fear. No one is truly afraid of Sagittarius. They are afraid of what awakens inside themselves when touched by the light Sagittarius carries. And the greatest lesson I have drawn from observing Sagittarius in other people's lives is this: you cannot control them. You can only choose, either watch from a distance, or step into their fire and allow it to transform you. No one walks through fire and remains the same. But sometimes, only fire can help us recover our truest form. And Sagittarius, that is the fire. If you've ever stood in a silent room and suddenly felt the air change when someone walked in, then you understand how powerful Sagittarius energy can be. They don't need to speak, don't need grand gestures. Their presence alone is enough. Like a spark falling into dry straw, just a single touch can make everything blaze. And then, everything old, rotten, stagnant, must either face new life or fall apart. That is something many cannot bear. They cannot bear someone living so truthfully, so fiercely, so unpredictably. I once asked a woman who had loved a Sagittarius what she regretted most after their relationship ended. She didn't talk about arguments or misunderstandings. She just sighed and said, "I regret that I didn't have enough courage to live fully to the end with him." You see, walking with a Sagittarius is not easy. They don't follow paved paths. They go where their soul calls. They may love you with all their heart, but if their soul speaks, they will leave, not to abandon you, but to not abandon themselves. Sagittarius is the fire of truth. Not the fire that destroys, but the fire that illuminates, purifies, awakens. In astrology, Sagittarius fire is the fire of transformation. It does not burn everything to ashes. Only what no longer deserves to live within truth. That fire is like light passing through a prism. Each ray shining into someone's life breaks into thousands of different colors. For one person, it's inspiration. For another, it's fear. For someone else, it's escape. And because of this, they become the center of every reaction. Enemies hate them. Lovers cherish them. Even the indifferent can't help but turn to look. Sagittarius does not allow anyone to ignore them. And that, whether intentional or not, is often the first spark for quiet wars inside others. There's something fascinating. In many ancient cultures, the image of the archer, the symbol of Sagittarius, was not a symbol of war. It was the image of a seeker. Someone who shoots arrows toward the horizon in pursuit of a great belief. Their arrow does not aim at enemies, but at truth. But sometimes, the path of truth cuts through the land of the false. And so war happens. Not because Sagittarius means to fight, but because their light accidentally leaves no place for shadows to hide. Have you ever looked at a flame and felt both fear and fascination at once? That is how the world sees Sagittarius. Untamable. Unpredictable. Unforgettable. And no matter how far you run from them, if within you there still lingers a desire to live a truly authentic life, sooner or later you will find yourself drawn to that fire. I once told a student of mine, when he felt isolated for being too different as a Sagittarius, you don't have to be like anyone else. Because the world doesn't need more copies. The world needs a real flame. And I said that not only to him, but to remind myself too. In every stage of life, we all need a little Sagittarius within us. To dare to question. To demand truth. To live according to the deepest voice of our soul. If you are listening to these words and feel something inside you both breaking and healing at the same time, then maybe you are standing very close to your truest self. Don't turn away too quickly. Stay. Let that light keep spreading. Let your presence be the flame that helps someone else find their direction. And if you are ready to embrace that role, comment below the video. I am the flame of awakening. Not just for others to know who you are, but for you to remind yourself that you are no longer running. You have returned to the fire the universe placed in your heart. I used to think war always began with anger. A wrong act. A harsh word. Someone breaking the rules. But the older I get, the deeper I journey into the soul maps of people, the more I realize. Some battles begin not with rage, but with the presence of something too real. And no one embodies that presence more clearly than Sagittarius. I once witnessed a Sagittarius walk into a workplace already decaying in falsehood. No one told him to do anything. But within 3 months, people began to feel uncomfortable. Not because he said anything offensive, but because he refused to pretend. He refused to praise what he didn't believe in. Refused to bow before injustice. Refused to take part in fake conversations behind others' backs. And so, rumors began to spread. Backstabbing glances appeared. And then, just as I predicted, he was pushed out. But what struck me wasn't his resistance. It was the smile he left behind as he walked away. He held no bitterness. He simply said, "I don't belong in a place where truth is considered dangerous." I thought about that sentence for a long time. And then I came to a realization, when someone truly lives according to their soul, they unintentionally become a mirror reflecting the falsehood in others. No one likes to see the parts of themselves they've tried to hide for years. And so, war breaks out. Not because that person is wrong, but because their presence leaves others with no place to hide. In astrology, oppositional aspects, especially between Sagittarius and signs like Pisces, Virgo, or Gemini, often create deep internal conflict. Not because these signs are weaker, but because each represents a different kind of belief. Sagittarius stands for ideals and truth. The others represent detail, order, or flexibility. When Sagittarius appears too clearly, the inner world of the other becomes unsettled. They feel challenged, even though Sagittarius has no intention of doing so. And then, reactions erupt. A separation. An argument. A baseless accusation. But the truth is, they're confronting the unhealed part of themselves. Sagittarius has simply touched the wound, unintentionally. My personal belief is this: no one truly creates war. But when light appears, darkness will rise. And not because light wants to destroy darkness, but because light's existence makes it impossible for darkness to hide. Sagittarius is that light. And if you are a Sagittarius, or if you love one, you must understand this: what is happening around you is not your fault. It is the world's reaction to the truth you carry. I used to think that to be loved, we had to soften our edges. But Sagittarius taught me this: sometimes, to love is to let someone face the truest part of you, even when it hurts them. Love is not endless compromise to keep peace. It is the courage to walk through collision together and grow. If you are in the midst of a conflict, if you feel the world misunderstands you, if you are exhausted from always being the one pushed out just because you live too truthfully, then listen closely to this. You are not wrong. You are just the first one brave enough to live authentically. And that is the most courageous act a soul can make in this age. Leave this sentence in the comments if you are living like a quiet flame in the war of the soul. I will not apologize for living in truth. Not to challenge anyone, but to remind yourself that you have chosen to stand on the side of light. And if what you're hearing today makes your heart tremble, as if something deep inside is awakening, then don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Because maybe someone out there is feeling alone simply for living in truth too early in a world still asleep. Sometimes I wonder, out of all the zodiac signs, why is Sagittarius the one who carries the burden of being the trumpet in the desert? Why, among all the souls searching for safety, are they the one who keeps moving? Perhaps there is an invisible hand from above that has already chosen. You will be the one to awaken the souls that have fallen asleep. With more than half a lifetime spent studying star charts, I don't believe it's all coincidence. And I don't believe that Sagittarius was born merely to wander. Because every step they take, every word they say, every arrow they shoot, points to one thing: awakening. When I look at the workings of the universe, from planetary movements to the grand cycles of astrological ages, I see a shift happening. The age of Aquarius is coming. And this new age doesn't need more people who bow their heads. It needs souls who know how to stand tall. Souls who aren't afraid of being misunderstood. Souls who aren't afraid of being alone. Souls like Sagittarius. In the history of astrology, the transition between ages is always chaotic. Old beliefs are tested. Power structures are overturned. Values once worshipped are now questioned. And in that chaos, someone has to say what no one else dares to say. Someone has to walk the road no one else dares to walk. Sagittarius, with the fire of Jupiter, is the one who lights the way. I once told a student, you don't need to become the light others are waiting for. You just need to become the flame your soul calls you to be. And that is exactly what Sagittarius always does. They don't live to be accepted. They live in alignment with the voice within. And because of that, they're often misunderstood as rebellious, uncontrollable, even dangerous. People forget. Every prophet was once called mad in their own time. Look at the way Sagittarius walks through life, unconventional, unattached to society's definitions. They may go to college. They may drop out. They may travel for 3 years with no itinerary. They may love deeply and then leave in silence. But none of that is because they are lost. It's because they refuse to lock their soul in the rusted cages of expectations. They live as if every moment carries a message from the cosmos. And often, they are exactly that, a message from the universe to the world. A message that's not easy to hear, but impossible to ignore. My personal belief is this. If this world is a stage, Sagittarius is not an actor. They are the one who breaks the script. The one who walks off stage, takes your hand, and asks, "Are you sure you want to keep watching this play? Or do you want to start living the truth?" Their danger lies there. They make it impossible for others to keep pretending. They pull back the curtain and point to the backstage. This is what you really need to see. I remember a friend, a Sagittarius, who once gave up a high-paying job in Manhattan to go to Nepal and study meditation. People said he was crazy. But he simply smiled and said, "I can't teach others how to live when I'm dying inside myself." 5 years later, he came back. Not richer. Not more famous. But his eyes shone brighter than anyone I had ever met. He said, "I met myself." And I believe this, when a person meets their true self, they can change the world. Because this world doesn't need more successful people. The world needs souls that have awakened. The deepest lesson I've learned from those who carry Sagittarius energy is this. Truth is not meant to win. It is meant to liberate. Every time you dare to live truthfully, even in a small choice, you add light to the new era. And Sagittarius is the invitation calling you into that era, not through logic, but through courage. If you're hearing these words and feel something inside beginning to rise, like a stream long blocked that suddenly bursts free, don't hold it back. Don't try to rationalize it. Let your heart say, "It's time for me to live truthfully." Because no one can say it for you. And no one can walk into your destiny but you. Write in the comments below, "I'm ready to step into the true era of my soul." This is not just a phrase to say. It is a sacred vow, to yourself, to the universe, and to every soul still waiting for your light to rise. And if this means something to you, let it spread. Share this video like a torch passed through the dark. Because maybe, the light you bring today will be the very thing that saves someone standing at the edge between decision and collapse. I once heard an old preacher say, "When God sends someone into your life, He doesn't send them to make you comfortable. He sends them to awaken something in you that you've tried to forget." And I think, maybe he was talking about people with Sagittarius energy. Because no one makes us look back at ourselves so deeply as standing before a Sagittarius who is living in their truth. I'm not saying they're perfect. Sagittarius can be fiery, impulsive. They can leave without looking back. But I've never met a Sagittarius who lives without carrying a fire inside, a fire of meaning, of ideals, of awakening. And no matter how much you resist them, once their light has touched your soul, it will never let you go back to the life you used to know. That is what makes them dangerous. But it's also what makes them a rare blessing. I once loved a Sagittarius. And I thought I had lost them. But years later, standing before an important decision in my life, I remembered something they once said so gently. If you don't dare to live truthfully with yourself, don't expect the world to live truthfully with you. That sentence pierced through every wall I had built around me. And I realized, I had never lost them. I had been carrying them inside me all along, like a reminder that could never be silenced. In astrology, there's a little known truth. Sagittarius stands right before Capricorn, the sign of discipline, results, responsibility. And to me, that means this. To reach where you need to go, you must pass through fire. You must go through Sagittarius. There is no shortcut. No peace that isn't paid for with radical honesty. And sometimes, the presence of a Sagittarius is the final test the universe sends you. To see if you are truly ready to live a life without regret. I don't know where you are in your journey. Maybe you're in the middle of a breakup. Maybe you just left a secure job because it no longer held meaning. Maybe you're so lonely, you think you're the only one who sees the falsehood wrapped around the world. But if you're hearing these words, then maybe you're not as lost as you think. Maybe you are awakening. And maybe, just maybe, you are becoming the Sagittarius in your own soul's journey. One of the most important lessons I've learned from those with Sagittarius energy is this. We were not born to be loved by everyone. We were born to live in alignment with our soul. And if that wounds someone, then that is the necessary price for a more truthful world. The world doesn't need more predictable people, easy to control, willing to accept anything just to keep the peace. The world needs people courageous enough to step out of line, to question, to say no to what is no longer right. And if you are living that way, if you feel different, out of place, misunderstood, remember this. You are not alone. You are simply a soul who has awakened in a world still asleep. I believe that every person has a moment in life where they can no longer pretend. They can no longer live by the expectations of others. They can no longer sit still while their soul screams from being suffocated. That is a destined moment. And if you've reached that moment, then congratulations. You are stepping into Sagittarius territory, where everything false is burned away, where there is no turning back, but also, where you are reborn, brighter, truer, stronger than ever before. And maybe, just maybe, you are the spark for a transformation the whole world has been waiting for. If what I've just said touches the deepest part of you, leave this sentence in the comments. I'm ready to never turn back again. This is not just a declaration. It is a sacred commitment to yourself, to the Creator, and to your soul that is now awakening. And if you believe that someone out there needs to hear this, don't hesitate. Share this video like a flame finding its way through the dark. Because maybe, this is the very thing someone has been waiting for to awaken from the long sleep of compromise. There's something those who've moved beyond youth know all too well, those who have been disappointed. Who have loved deeply, been broken, fallen into silence among things that once seemed meaningful, only to realize, not everything is worth keeping. And not everyone who comes into your life is meant to stay. But, there will be one person, or more accurately, one kind of person, who comes into your life to awaken you. And whether they stay or not, you are never the same again. To me, Sagittarius is that kind of person. They don't come to make you feel safe. They come to remind you that your soul was born to be free. And if you ever lost that, then their presence is your opportunity to reclaim it. Not gently, but through truth. Through light. Through inevitable collisions. And because of that, everyone who has ever crossed paths with a Sagittarius carries something of them. An arrow that was never pulled out. A sentence that was never forgotten. A look in their eyes that you know, you will never see again in anyone else. You might be asking yourself, am I strong enough to hold someone like that in my life? But the better question is, am I brave enough to hold on to myself when their light shines directly into the truth I've been afraid to face? Because the danger of Sagittarius is not in what they do. It's in the reflection they unintentionally cast into your soul. A reflection that makes it impossible for you to keep pretending. A reflection that forces you to choose, either awaken, or walk away. I've lived long enough to realize that the ones who hurt us most are not our enemies. They are the ones who show us ourselves so clearly, we can no longer pretend to be deaf, or blind, or forgetful. And even though it throws you into crisis, deep down you know, you need it. You need them. You need that truth. And if today, after everything you've heard, you feel a part of your heart shifting, as if a door has just opened, as if you've just been called by name, then don't ignore it. Don't go back to your old patterns. Don't remain silent with yourself. Leave this sentence in the comments as a vow before the universe. I am the one chosen to awaken the new era. No one else but you. Not tomorrow, but right now. And if this means something to you, if you believe the world needs more people who dare to live truthfully, who dare to speak the truth, who are willing to trade comfort for light, then share this video. Turn the fire in you into light for those still walking through the dark. Because sometimes, a whisper at the right moment can save a soul from a lifetime of being lost. And sometimes, that whisper, through your newly awakened light, is you. And if you are a Sagittarius, or if you are loving, remembering, or grieving one, know this. You are not alone. There is an entire universe walking with you, waiting for you to ignite. Not to burn out, but to awaken a world that has been waiting for someone brave enough to light the truth.